tough guys. Thug life, tough guys. Where you gonna go? Threw your life away, now you gotta lay low. Thug life, tough guys.
I really like Seattle. It's a good little town. People are friendly. Ah! Ah! I was yelling. There's a window. She was staring at me. I really like the beat. But man, when that LG Action Sports World Championships come to town, it just gets crazy. Oh my God, I'm going fast. Mayhem's in the street. I'm going real fast. I'm scared. Those silly bike riders, man. They just don't know what's good for them. What are you guys doing up there?
Good day, officer of the law. We seem to have misplaced our troll. Can you help us find it?
It's right there.
Well done, Simon. You found it.
Wait a minute. Doesn't sound like you guys are from around here. You from Florida or something?
Yeah, we all from Florida.
Sunshine, oranges, Disneyland.
Old people.
Wait a minute. Aren't you Simon DeBron and Jamie Bestwick? What are you guys doing here?
We're in town for the LG Action Sports Championship.
And it starts right now.
Welcome to Seattle, Washington. It is the 2008 LG Action Sports World Championships. Hello everyone, I'm inside Key Arena. My name is Jimmy Coleman. I'm standing alongside Steve Swope. And Steve, we've got a huge event coming up right now. It's the BMX Vert Final. The big question right now is Jamie Bestwick. The guy has been absolutely dominant this year competition-wise. Can anyone try and take him down here tonight?
It's going to be really tough, Jimmy. Jamie's undefeated this season. We do have some newcomers, though, making some waves in Vert. Austin Coleman, Zach Warden, and Francisco Zarita are here, but the veterans own the Vert ramp. Simon Tabron, Chad Kagy, they're all going to need some luck to take down Jamie.
It's definitely not going to come without a fight. However, he does have history on his side. In the history of this event, he's won it every single year that he's been here. So the question is, will he take home yet another LG gold medal? We're about to find out. Well, it was the 2006 season, the first year the championships were in Dallas, Texas, that we did not see Jamie Bestwick, and Chad Kagy was the champion that year. Jamie came back last season, 2007, walked away with yet another gold medal. So like we just said, the question on everyone's mind is, can one of these guys post up a big enough score to try to take that away from him here in 2008? And the first guy we are going to see is Ben Snowden, rolling in for a run of 1 of 2. Basically, guys each get 2 45-second runs. It's best run counts. They're being judged on a 100-point scale.
Ben's really impressive rider. He rides everything, vert, park, dirt, street. He does it all, and he's always a threat, at least to the 10 cut, always making the final, but a really impressive guy.
See him doing airs going both directions. That's sort of the way that BMX vert riding has progressed these days. Guys going opposite directions, whereas in the past they favored one direction. They turn. There's an opposite variation out of Ben there, and it's so smooth that it's really hard to tell. If you don't know Ben's riding style, it's really hard to tell which direction is his natural direction.
Yeah, he does. He's got a lot of versatility because he rides every form of BMX riding. He's got a nice run going here. The only thing Ben lacks is doesn't quite have the height to some of the heavy hitters and some of the bigger tricks like 540s and flares, but good overall performance from Ben Snowden.
Yeah, I was going to say, outside of the 540s and the flares, pretty much nowadays you got to have a flare and variations of it in your run if you're going to walk away with a podium finish.
Nice tail up there from Ben. He's happy to be here, happy to be having a good time.
82.75 sets the bar, and he's on the deck right now with our sideline reporter, Catfish.
Ben, you're one of the most versatile riders when it comes to doing opposite tricks. Can you at least share with the people what an opposite trick is?
It's basically go in the complete wrong direction. That's the best way to put it. And it's especially tricky on a vert ramp because you're like, you have to lean so much.
Well, it really sets your runs apart because you're the only guy that switches it up almost every run.
I have a lot of fun doing it, and I love watching all the other guys. And Bestwick was a big influence on me, as well as Joe Rich, who did a lot of opposite stuff. So
awesome. Well, always killing it. Always great to watch you. Ben Snowden!
Well, there you go. We talked about opposite variations, and Ben Snowden helping us earn our paycheck by going a little more, delving into the subject a little deeper. It's going to bring up Francisco Zarita coming down the roll in here for run number 1, and he set a pretty big benchmark last year. He was the first guy ever to do a triple tail whip in a vert competition.
Yeah, he got it down, and he paid the price on that trick. He actually broke his ankle trying in another contest, but glad to see him back in action. He's one of the young guns in vert. He's got an awesome style. Well, kind of reminds me of a dirt rider with that style on vert, but he's really a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, actually broke his ankle doing that in his first run of the X Games last year. That's what a way to break yourself into the X Games, no pun intended. There's a double tail whip.
Gets that one down clean. Another single tail whip.
He's got tail whip variations. He's also got really nice flares in his bag of tricks. He spends a lot of time training at the Western Camp Woodward facility. That was a turn down flare. Very solid run for Coco here.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I've ridden with him a few times up at Woodward West. Super fun guy to ride with. Nice full pull for Francisco.
Well, I'd have to say this is going to put him at the top of the leaderboard here. Look at this double tail whip, 2 revolutions of the frame of the bike, lands it clean.
Gets his feet back on the pedals right where he wants them. It's important so you can maintain the flow of your run and keep your speed. Watch how high he lands this X-up flare, late X-up there. Lands it high in the tranny and keep going.
But he definitely had to take some time off after breaking his ankle last season and rehab that thing. He's back in action here in 2008. Looking solid with an 86.25. We are just getting started. We've got plenty more BMX Vert finals still to go when we come back here for round number 1, including Jamie Bestwick. The LG Action Sports World Championships is brought to you by LG Life's Good, by Maxell, official sponsor of the Action Sports World Tour, by NPPL Championship Paintball 2009, pbsting.com, and by BFD.com. The biggest names in action sports are at BFD.com.
Stop already! Stop! You two, I'm an officer of the law.
All right, Si, let's go.
Let's get going. Whoa, stop!
Zach Warden having a little fun outside the arena playing police officer, but here inside the arena getting set for run number 1, he's all about business.
Some of the guys coming up that I'm really looking out for is definitely Zach Warden from the progression point of view. He has so many crazy tricks that if he ever puts that run together where he puts all of his progressive tricks in there, then he's a definite podium contender.
I think he's going to turn a lot of heads because he's got some wonderful tricks and he's got a wild style that's so unpredictable. You really don't know what he's going to do next.
He's got some crazy tricks, Steve, but he's also got time on his side. He is the youngest rider in the ranks of pro BMX vert riding these days, and the last couple of competitions I've seen him at, he's really been putting it together and throwing down some nice runs.
Yeah, the only thing Zach really needs, he's got so much potential, is to get a full run together. And like Simon and Jamie said, this guy is the future of vert. Just needs a little maturity and get his runs dialed in, but he's hanging out with Jamie and riding a lot, so I'm sure he's going to get there.
And there's one of those crazy tricks right there, the bike flip. You see Morgan Wade doing that in street or park competitions, I should say. You don't see anybody else doing that on vert. Zach's got another one that he's the only guy doing on the vert ramp. It's called the windshield wiper. It's a half tail whip, the tail whip back. There's a double tail whip, and every now and then you'll see this kid throw a hand plant into the mix.
Yeah, Zach has a lot of really original and cool tricks. Slowed down a lot there after that double tail, but looked like maybe his back wheel moved and slowed him down. He couldn't get his run back and going, but here's the bike flip. 360, spins it around in his hand.
Do you see him fumble the grab on the seat right there? His hand slipped off the seat.
And here's the double tail whip. Gets it around and looks like he has trouble finding the pedals. Lucky to be riding away from that one.
Definitely breathing a sigh of relief, and he walks away with an 85 flat.
That run was pretty manly.
I don't know if you noticed, but when I did that bike flip, my hand magically went past my seat, and I caught
my brakes. And I was like, in the middle there thinking that I'm gonna land in manual tail tap of doom. But I'm happy I just rolled away from that thing.
That's going to bring up veteran vert rider John Parker. This guy's no stranger to this event. He's competed in it every year we've had it.
This year, I've been working on some new tricks. I learned a few new things. I've been having a lot of fun riding the bike, but it's been up and down. I did a little bit of touring, broke my leg, only my second broken bone ever, so that was an event this year. It took 2 weeks out of my life. And then I went on tour with the Huck Jam, Tony Hawk's Huck Jam. That was pretty fun. Some of the best riding I did this year. A couple demos were incredible. Boston, I still remember Boston. I remember you guys. That was a good one.
He's kind of downplayed that broken leg thing a little bit. He had actually ridden 2 or 3 stops on the Huck Jam with a broken leg. He was complaining about some soreness in the leg. He went and got it x-rayed. Turned out the guy had been riding on a broken leg for 2 or 3 stops of the tour.
Yeah, John has a huge pain tolerance like most vert riders do, but the guy just doesn't get injured that often, and so I guess he doesn't know what one feels like.
And in the last couple of years of the Action Sports World Tour, he's taken a couple of crazy slams, a couple of hard knocks, and he's really sort of rededicated himself and come out swinging and learn some new things here in 2008.
Going huge right now, way out of the ramp, normal John Parker style, lots of tricks back to back.
Yeah, one thing that John has on his side, the height factor. He'll start off at a decent height, and he'll maintain that throughout the flow of his run. You'll see other guys tend to lower some of their tricks. He's got big 540s, and the flares have come back big for him the last 2 years.
Nice double tail whip there, right out of a 540, and he's going to call that one. Nice first run for Parker.
And another thing, too, he's not really back on the bike too long after recovering from that broken leg.
No, you can just see all the skill that's built up over years and years of riding. Some of these guys can come back after an injury and just like it never happened. Perfect landing on that 5 for John, right at the top of the ramp where he wants to be. Double tail whip, finds the pedals quickly.
Pretty happy about that run. A solid score gets him an 86.25, and that has him in a tie right now for first place with Francisco Zarita. Keep in mind, we are in the middle of round number 1. We still have yet to see the likes of Chad Kagy, Simon Tabron, or Jamie Bestwick. Plenty more BMX Vert action still to come. In addition to all the high-flying action taking place on the ramp inside Key Arena, the fans were also treated to a live musical performance on the Maxell stage by Hoobastank.
The LG vert ramp's about 14 foot tall, so out of all the vert ramps we ride every year, to me this is the best one. It's just faster, it's just smoother, it allows me to go high, and I mean they're all wide, that's not a problem, but I don't know, there's just something about this ramp, I just like it. It just gives me a lot more freedom and I enjoy myself riding it.
That's actually a scary soundbite if you're one of the other 13 competitors up on the deck, because when this guy's on his A game, he's pretty much unstoppable. And with some of the things we've seen him do on this ramp in practice, he's going to be a hard one to beat here. Kagy Kraft rolling in for run number 1, and we've talked about guys having a good year and sort of rededicating themselves, and Kagy falls on that list as well for 2008.
Yeah, Koji's had another a really great year. I would kind of call it a comeback year, and I agree with you, Jimmy. But Koji's another rider that has all kinds of talent. He just got to get it together in one run.
Yeah, he sort of had his head in the clouds over the last couple of years, and he hasn't been really focused, but something snapped midway through the season right after X Games, and he decided, hey, you know what? I got to get out there and actually try, and it's paying off. That was a turn-down flare, and it was actually going the wrong direction for Kagy. We talked about opposite variations earlier. He turned to the left. That one's going to the right and hanging on. Oh, I say hanging on, but then he eats it on the other wall of the ramp. But still, from what we're used to seeing out of him, that was a great run.
Yeah, a really nice run for Kagy. Just slides out on the double tail whip, but turn down flare looked really good. Take another look at it. Kagy with the double tail whip. Looks like he gets his feet back on and then just gets a little crossways and comes off the bike and just slides out. Glad he's up and okay.
Yeah, that last rotation came around pretty late, too. He was already halfway back into the ramp as the frame was coming back around. But again, glad to see him putting together an entire run. Gets a first run score of 86 flat, so not bad for the new and improved Kagy craft. Yeah, that's actually our second highest score of the comp thus far. Here we go, Jimmy Walker coming down the roll-in, and here's a guy who's usually on his A game when it comes to competitions. We talked about opposite variations with Ben Snowden earlier. Jimmy falls into that category as well. He can do airs so smoothly going both directions, it's hard to tell which way is his natural direction.
Yeah, I really, really love watching Jimmy ride. Super smooth, and he's a vert rider's vert rider. He's got the tough tricks, goes both directions, makes everything look good, really good style.
One thing Jimmy's been working on a lot the last couple of years have been 540 variations and flare variations. We may see a new flare variation out of him here at this comp. There's a turn down flare. He learned those last season.
Nice full pull for Jimmy so far, and he is really a vert purist. He rides a little bit of park, but this guy really focuses on vert. Anytime he shows up at the park, he's on the vert ramp.
That was a great combo line to cap it off. That was a truck driver 540 into an opposite flare.
Nice little invert on the flare too. Another new one from Jimmy. Always up in his game.
Yeah, I called that a turn down flare. That was actually an invert. I've never seen him do an invert flare.
There's the opposite flare, and just didn't quite get enough rotation. Slides it out, but he's up and okay.
Even with the slide out, an 87.75, and that puts him on top of the leaderboard here in the latter half of round number 1. So nice job by Jimmy Walker.
You were thinking about a 900 there. What went through your mind?
I really, really wanted to do it, but sometimes healthy is better than not healthy, and I've been taking slams all week, so shut it down, shut it down.
Not to mention you got a flight to catch in a couple hours.
Hell yeah, there's nothing worse than sitting on a plane broken, so I'm happy.
We've had an amazing season in 2008. Can we expect more Jimmy Walker madness in 2009?
Oh, absolutely, and I'm going to work on that 9 all winter, so.
We'll be looking forward next year.
Thanks, Catfish.
Congrats on a great year, man.
You too, man. Thanks.
Jimmy Walker obviously happy about that run. He talked about being banged up. Another guy who was taking a couple of hard knocks on the Action Sports World Tour this year, Steve McCann. It was back in October at the BMX Big Air Triples competition in Cincinnati, Ohio, where he goes down hard on this 720.
Yeah, Stevie went down hard, got up, had a shoulder injury. He's come back from it, but I know it's still affecting him. He's not 100%.
Yeah, the medics had told him that it might take him out of the championships, but he said, no way, I'm not missing this event. Here he is ready to roll in for run number 1. And we talked about knocks. It takes a strange one right here.
And that looks like his chain snapped, Jimmy, and that happens to every bike rider at some point in his career, but not on the top of a ramp when you're getting ready to drop in. That is gnarly.
No, it's a rare occurrence, and when it does happen, it could mean lights out. Take a look at the slow-mo here. You can barely see the chain coming off, and there's nothing you can do. You just have to ditch the bike.
You have all your torque on your pedal when you're trying to gain speed like that, and you just can't help but go over the bars. And not only goes over the bars, but he has a 14-foot ramp to fall down.
I think a large part of that was more shock than pain there. You can see him getting up and walking away under his own power with the medical staff. And like you said, it's happened to everyone in their career.
It's a reminder that anything can happen.
You see the look on Chad Kagy's face. He's like, wow, that was bizarre. You don't see that too often. Speaking of Chad Kagy, he is due up next. But before we see his run, we're going to take a ride along with Chad, if you will, and we're going to see what an average day is like in his life at Camp Woodward.
Well, the strange thing is, I always used to remark on what a small head he had, and I remember trying his hat on once, and it was so small. But as he's accumulated trophies, contest wins, and medals, strangely, his hats just don't fit the way they used to.
This has never, ever fit.
Wow, I have a lot of contest wins.
This is what I still ride. I come home and I leave my bike at camp, and I'll take this for a ride. Cell phone doesn't work because it's vibrating so much I can't feel my phone vibrate. It's so loud I can't hear it ring. It's nice to get away. So I've got another couple days here to just hang out, have good sessions with friends. So-called job on 2 wheels. We're at work now.
Work?
We're gonna go ride bicycles. We'll be riding bikes in here if you feel like joining us. Kind of stoked. I got some new people to ride with today. Having Simon and Zach come in. It's always nice to have a fresh perspective on the ramp. I realize it's the same exact vert ramp as always, but different people ride it different ways. good sessions go down, riding with good friends. This is how the new tricks get invented and how contests become better. I'm gonna go back to regular civilization. You have a nice day. Bye.
A lot of pro BMX vert riders have gravitated up there to the Woodward East facility, and it's really helped progress the sport. I mean, the kind of things that you see the Woodward guys doing on the vert ramp, I never dreamed would be possible, and yet we're seeing them in competitions time and time again.
Yeah, it goes to show with the guys that train at Woodward, including Daniel Dares, Kagy, Kevin Robinson, and Bestwick. It definitely pays off.
And we mentioned earlier that Chad won this event in 2006. He was riding a little banged up last year. He ended up going out at the X Games. He broke his collarbone in several places, had to have surgery, took him out of the remainder of the season, but he came back big at the championships, and there's one of those video game style tricks, Steve.
Yeah, that's Chad Kagy's version of the flare whip, upside down, and look at the run Chad has going. Huge, way out of the ramp, high degree of difficulty, got some of his own Chad Kagy style thrown in.
And I have to point out something here that I pointed out in John Parker's run. The height maintained throughout the run. You didn't see him peak and then drop lower and lower as the run progressed. He kept that height all throughout.
Here's a Chad Kagy double tail up, and I think going high on a vert ramp is one of the most difficult things, mostly when you increase the difficulty of the trick. I mean, vert is about going big, and Chad does it as good as anybody.
Look at where the front tire is in position on that trick mid-spin. It looks like he's going to hang that thing up, and then he rotates that thing around. 90.25, first rider to score in the 90s, and we've got a new leader here in the latter half of round number 1, and the crowd definitely digging the flat spin flare whip. That's going to bring up Simon Tabron, a guy who's had success on the Action Sports World Tour in past years, and he's the focus of this week's LG Trictionary.
Hey, I'm Simon Tabron and we're here at Woodward Camp in Pennsylvania, and today I'm going to show you for my Trictionary how to do an alley-oop 540. Now the alley-oop 540 is a trick I came up with 9 or 10 years ago. Unlike a regular 5, where you have to actually approach the 540 turning in your opposite direction, which for me is turning to the right, and then snap into the 540 late once I've set the alley-oop. The big thing for me is to try and travel as far as I possibly can, just get as much backwards travel on the 5, make the most of the alley-oop. And then over the years I've come up with a few variations that I've added into the trick. I've managed to translate my no-handers, turn-downs, tables, a few other ones like bar spins, and then I have some new ones that I haven't really done in contests yet, so shh, we'll keep quiet on those. Okay, so that's it. That was alley-oop 540s. Have fun, enjoy, be safe. See ya. Bye.
You can see more Trictionaries as well as behind-the-scenes footage on the top pros, video from the biggest events, the craziest tricks and the biggest wrecks, all at BFD.com. Well, before the Trictionary, I mentioned that Simon's had success on the Action Sports World Tour. The guy's been absolutely dominant in the international events, and he's been very strong at the LG Finals each and every year as well.
Yeah, Simon's one of those veterans you can always count on. Definite threat to the podium every time he drops in, and the master of the 900.
With a nice no-handed 540. By the way, Simon doing this brakeless. You don't see too many guys on the vert ramp running no brakes, but Simon doing it here.
Simon and Hoffman, the two guys that have really worked that out in vert, but you're right, yeah, not too many people willing to give that a shot. You can't slow down once you're going.
To see that how far he drifted on that alley-oop 540. Alley-oop means you're in the air, you're drifting the opposite direction that you're turning. He traveled a couple of sheets of skate light on that one. And there you go, the 900. Look at that landing.
Look how clean that was, straight into a flare. Simon has that trick more dialed than anyone in the history of BMX.
It wasn't that long ago when you'd see guys throwing 900s at the end of their runs when they're completely gassed and just landing on the flat bottom. Simon's doing tricks out of them nowadays.
Nice little invert flare. Again, it's important to land near the top of the ramp as high as you can. Keeps your speed, maintains your height. And here's the 9, 2.5 spins. Hoffman, the first guy to ever do this, and Simon's perfected it.
Look at how smooth he landed that thing. And like I said, he got speed out of it, and he did a flare coming out of it. He ends up with a 90 flat, and that is our second highest score of the comp thus far. That puts him in second place right now behind Chad Kagy. But here we go, the most dominant rider in BMX Vert, Jamie Bestwick, set to take his first of 2 runs here, and this guy can light up a vert ramp. Taking a look back at last year's championships in Dallas, Texas, look at how high that invert 540 was. He was over the railing, and as we mentioned at the top of the show, he's won this thing every year he's participated in it. The one time he hasn't was 2006, and that's because he didn't show up. So is he going to add himself another gold medal to his trophy case? We're going to find out here in the next 45 seconds. And watch the height factor when this guy comes down the roll and blasts into his setup airs.
It's really hard to put into words how good Jamie is at vert. He really defines what good vert style is, and he does it with every single trick.
And he's also about the combo moves. There's one right there, the bar spin to turn down.
Huge tail up. He lands everything at the top of the ramp, goes higher than just about anybody, and he keeps it throughout his run.
See him on that turn down flare. Both wheels landed on the sticker tape just under the coping. You don't see anybody landing flares that high, really.
Huge.
Look at that.
Alley-oop 5.
And look at the size of that downside tail whip, and he did an X-up out of it.
Yeah, that's part of the Jamie magic. He puts little twists on incredible tricks and just makes them look so good.
And how about an opposite flare to cap off the run? Going the wrong way for him. That downside tail whip was over the railing, and those railings are 8 feet.
Yeah, like I said, he defines vert style. He did a 540 invert in this run that is just as good as I've ever seen anybody do it.
And when he does those, he holds on to it as long as you possibly can on that trick.
Huge tail up way out, throws in a one-hander, one-footer. Another little special Jamie add-on to that trick to give it his own special style. Huge downside whip. He's 8.5, 9 feet out and has time to throw in an X-up. And one of his signature moves, the fast plant flare. He invented it years ago, has it wired, throws it at the end of his run, just a little bit more icing.
I did not see him put his foot down at real-time speed on the opposite fast plant flare, but it nets him a 93 flat, and it's no surprise he is on top of things at the end of round 1. And taking a look at the Paul Mitchell leaderboard, Jamie Bestwick in familiar territory, and Chad Kagy and Simon Tabron nipping at his heels. But how about Steve McCann? He is all the way down in 13th. Remember, he rolled in and had the broken chain there, Steve, and what a fluke thing that was.
Yeah, you know, Stevie will be on it at his second run, and he'll definitely move up the leaderboard.
Round 2 still to come. Keep in mind it's best run counts, and all 13 riders get one more crack at it. Will we see another championship run out of Jamie Bestwick? We'll find out when we come back. Welcome back inside Key Arena on the vert ramp. Round 2 of the BMX Vert Final. You're looking at Austin Coleman. First run score was an 82.50. Austin, a guy that's been normally known as a street/park rider, really made a name for himself in the vert ranks over the last 2 seasons, and he's got some pretty explosive tricks in his arsenal.
He does. He's got some original moves we haven't seen in vert until Austin Coleman came along and started busting out. Huge downside whip, one of the big tricks in Austin's tool bag.
He had a rough go with some variations in his first run. That's why he's down there in the low 80s. And again, he's another one of those guys that can put it together going to the left and the right. As a matter of fact, watching this run, it's hard to tell which is Austin's normal direction. That was a double downside whip.
Only guy to do that trick. And he's really come on strong early in the 08 season, and guys definitely took notice and said, hey man, Austin stepped it up. We got to make sure and keep an eye on him.
Yeah, he's a busy guy, goes to all the major competitions, spends a lot of time out on the road doing shows. Relocated himself to Greenville, North Carolina to ride with some of the best the industry has to offer.
Check out the flare way out of the ramp, spots his landing right where he wants to be, up near the top. And here's the downside whip twice around. Austin, the only guy to do that trick in BMX Vert.
That's just absolutely insane that he's able to do. And a double downside whip like that and just make it look super clean. 85.25. It is an improvement, however, not by much. He had a couple of slip-ups and landed low on that run, so that definitely counting against his score. Here we go with Francisco Zarita, a.k.a. Coco. He had a pretty solid run. He was in the lead for a while, set the bar the early part of round number 1. What do you think here, Steve? Maybe fire off the triple tail whip attempt again?
He can do it. I don't know, but it's going to take something like that to get him up with those top 3 guys.
It's a new flare variation out of Coco for 2008. A nice turn down flare. He threw the turn down in rather late on that.
You know, something I really noticed at this event, riders love the ramp. They all are going really high. They don't have to worry about hanging up. They've all commented how perfect this ramp is.
Some more combo moves from Francisco here. There's a tail whip to turn down. Another new one for him. 2008, the high mark to beat right now, a 93 flat set by Jamie Bestwick. And there's the buzzer right there. That's going to do it for Francisco. I don't know that he's actually tried the triple whip in practice or in a competition since the injury last year at the X Games. But a very solid performance here at the 2008 LG Action Sports World Championships.
Yeah, nice run for Coco. He's got a few more things in his bag of tricks, but you know, you want to end the season healthy. You can do a lot of training and practicing in the off season to get ready for the fall or the next year. Maybe that's what he was thinking, but another good run. Love to see this guy ride. Great style.
Gets an 87.50, not gonna make the podium, but a great way to cap off the 2008 season.
Zach Warden up for run 2. Before we see that run, we're going to take a look back to earlier in the week where he and some of the other athletes from the event got a chance to give back to the local community. They went to Fort Lewis Military Base for a meet and greet autograph session.
Well, right now, a group of us are at Fort Lewis, and we're just doing an autograph signing for some of the troops and their family, and it's turned out pretty good. There was a nice line giving out them free tickets and having a good time. I come from a military family, so it's always nice to support the troops. You know, they're out there fighting for us, and you know, they're making it to where I can ride bikes and make a living. So I support them and appreciate all the work they do for us.
So Zach Warden and some of the other athletes at this event giving back to the local community here in the greater Seattle area. Here we go with his second and final run. Remember, run number 1 for him, he had the bike flip, but he fumbled the grab and basically avoided disaster on that one. We'll see if we get the windshield wiper or the hand plant out of him here in run number 2.
What I like so far is he's really kept his height up, got a couple of big tricks in already. Like we said, Zach has a ton of potential, just has to get a full run together, and as he matures a little bit, you can really see him start to figure it out. Huge bike flip there.
Got that one down clean, although I thought he got a bit of a better landing out of it in the first run. He got more speed out of it in run number 1. This one kind of slowed down his tempo a little bit.
Couple of toboggan airs, double tail whip there, lands everything clean to a nice downside whip.
I was going to mention, you mentioned a couple of toboggan airs. I was going to say, we've seen a repeat on that trick. There's the hand plant, and just comes in and gets blown off to the left side of the bike. So a couple of repeat tricks there. See what the judges think about that on his overall score. But look at the invert at the end of the run. Nobody else is doing that. You shouldn't be able to do that on a bike.
Yeah, Zach really has that trick figured out. There's the double tail whip, finds the pedals with his feet, and here with the hand plant, and it looks like he lands it okay, just a little outside and just couldn't hang on to it and goes down.
That's absolutely crazy. See where he plants his hand. He's almost on the coping. Definitely up there on the sticker tape. So he bumps up. He gets an 86.25 to best his first run score. Jay Eggleston, he had an 86.25 for his first outing. You talked earlier, actually it was in the stand-up, the beginning of the show, you said that the veterans own the vert ramp, and Jay Eggleston is consistently in the top 5 year after year after year, and he's really having a good season here in 2008.
Yeah, he's been one of the top pros in vert for about a decade now at least, and a top AM before that, but he goes so high, one of the highest flyers in BMX.
Yeah, we've talked about keeping your height up and how important that is. You're going to see this guy consistently over the railings up and around the 8 to 9.5 foot range, and you really don't see anybody else keeping all of their tricks up that high with the exception of like maybe Jamie Bestwick or Kagy Kraft in certain instances.
Goes down on a tail whip, and you can see his right, he looked like he had it. His right foot slipped off, and I think that was a surprise to Jay. You usually know when you're going to crash, but Jay didn't look like he had any indication his foot wasn't going to be on the pedal there.
It looked like a brake lever or part of his grip ended up socking him in the right side of the face the way he went down right there. It's rare to see Jay fall in a competition run. He's one of the most consistent guys out there.
Look at how high that 540 was. That was got to be around the 10-foot mark. And oh, you can see he didn't get his right foot on at all. That was a hard slam.
Yeah, you see the red mark on his face. He punched himself in the face with that right grip. He took a good knock to the head, but again, good to see him up and walking away, 84.25, so he'll toss that run out and stick with his first run score. Things starting to heat up here, the latter half of round 2. The pressure's on, and guys are starting to take chances. We've seen some big runs and some nasty slams. Taking a look at the Paul Mitchell leaderboard, Jamie Bestwick still on top of things with Chad Kagy and Simon Tabron not too far behind. Jimmy Walker just outside of a podium spot. He's still got a second run. And who you don't see in the top 6 right now, Kagy Kraft and Steve McCann, who also have a second and final run coming up. It's still anybody's game, the conclusion of the BMX Vert final when we come back from break. The LG Action Sports World Championships have been brought to you by LG. Life's good. By John Paul Mitchell Systems. It's not just what you do, it's how good you look doing it. Paul Mitchell, style points count. By Xbox 360. And by ASA Entertainment. We are Action Sports. Visit asaentertainment.com. Kagy Kraft ready to roll in for run number 2. You see that first run score, 86 flat. We touched earlier about how he's sort of rededicated himself. He's had some clock management issues when it comes to competition runs in the past, so it was good to see him get down a full 45 seconds.
Yeah, he had a good first run, just one slip up, but everything else was great. And what we're talking about is Kagy had the habit of blowing up early in his run or losing his flow in his run, but he just never quite seemed to get it together. But like you said, so far so good here.
Either that or he was all or none. He would roll in and do 3 or 4 insane combos, lose all of his speed, and spend the rest of his run just doing these crazy lip tricks. But he sort of found his focus again here in 2008. And actually, he just relocated himself. He's the newest resident these days of Camp Woodward out there in central Pennsylvania. So it's definitely going to help him out in the long run. That was an opposite 540 for Kagy at the end of the run.
And a regular 542. Very, very few riders in the history of BMX have done 540s both directions in vert.
Actually, I take that back. The first one was regular for him, and the second one was opposite. I'm just not used to seeing Kagy. Kagy learned 540s backwards. That's why it threw me off, so you don't see him do that too much.
Nice double tail whip, gets it around clean, feet right back on the pedals. Kagy's got that trick dialed. Turn down flare, clicking the bars all the way, good style for Kagy.
That's actually the wrong way for him as well, 85.75, so a great day for Kagy Kraft. Glad to see the new and improved version of Kagy Kraft, and it's good to see him smiling after his competition runs these days. Jimmy Walker had an excellent first run score, put him in the lead for a while with an 87.75. Catfish kind of teased us a little bit, got him talking about the 900. I don't think he'll throw it here, but we may see some more 540 variations.
Look how high Jimmy is, though, on everything he does. So smooth.
I talked about Kagy relocating. Jimmy relocated himself. He moved out of the greater Chicago area, took his vert ramp with him. He's got a ramp very similar to this one. He lives on a horse farm with his wife, Christina, down in Ocala, Florida, and that's all this guy does. He's out there mowing lawns and riding bikes every single day.
Well, he's mowing the vert ramp right now, too. Check it out. Big carving, invert flare. Back-to-back flares.
That's what he told me. He said, hey, I got to get out and I got to simplify my life. And he's having a lot of fun doing it again with the truck driver 540. That's a bar spin with 1.5 rotations of the bike and body.
Another full pull for Jimmy Walker.
Yeah, pick your highlight reel for here for run 1 or run 2.
Oh, that's such good style on the invert. Corkscrew flare from Walker. Back-to-back. Keeps of speed so easy throughout the entire run. And the bar spin 5. Another vert trick not too many guys ever had wired, but Jimmy's got that one in his bag for sure.
Nets him an 88.75 and best his first run score. Steve McCann, remember what happened to this guy in run number 1? Broke the chain right as he was entering the lip of the ramp. See if he can get a rundown.
And Steve is capable of a lot in vert. Threat to the podium every time he rides. And one of the newcomers, last couple seasons in vert, really opening some eyes. He's a park and dirt specialist, and now he can add vert to that list.
Well, it was just a fluky thing that happened to him in run number 1. However, the pressure is on him now. There's no margin for error if he's going to jump up into a podium spot. Double tail whip, very nicely done.
Another Camp Woodward resident. Rides with Jamie and Chad and Robinson, the whole crew up there.
He's got a Jamie Bestwick style to his riding these days, especially when you see him do his flares and his 540. So you think moving to Camp Woodward and riding with those guys helps you out? Just look at Steve McCann's riding style.
Looks like he's gonna call it there and play it safe. I know he has a couple of other big tricks. He decided to not do those and go away safe.
But you got to think that he's probably a little sore after the slam that he took jumping straight to the flat bottom. This is a 14-foot tall vert ramp.
Yeah, and I guess you're really not playing it safe with as big as Stevie goes. Should take that back. Huge double tail whip. Big no-handed 540 on the orange bike. He's got to be happy with this run after what happened in his first run.
Yeah, that could have been absolutely disastrous. 89.75. He's not going to walk away with a medal. The best he can hope for. Well, actually, he's going to finish with 4th place right there, bumping Jimmy Walker down to 5th. Chad Kagy right now sitting in 2nd place with a 90.25. We'll see if he can try to jump up and take the lead away from Jamie Bestwick.
And Chad is not afraid to drop the hammer, but he slipped a pedal on that landing, which cost him some speed and already slows him down a little bit.
Check him out, working the height factor back up, and there you go with the flat spin flare whip again. It just under-rotates that one.
And I honestly think, you know, he slipped his pedal on that first landing, and he didn't have the height early in his run or as high as he wanted to go on that flare whip. Even a mistake early in your run can affect you later on. And he looks high enough there, but he was just rushing to get everything done and around in time to land it.
And he's going to have to throw that run out. The best he can hope for is a silver medal. And Simon Tabron is due up next, and he could jump ahead right now.
Just literally just got a place in Manhattan Beach in Los Angeles. Moved in last week. It's definitely something I did for personal reasons, but I think it's going to help me in my riding so much, just being out on the West Coast all the time. All the guys I'm going to get to ride with out there, all my skateboarder friends, all the bike riders out there. Coco Zarita, who's such a good friend of mine. I'm going to ride out on the West Coast with him a heck of a lot, so I'm really excited about that. Like, he and I just feed off each other really, really well. And then just being in the US all the time, there's guys like Chad Kagy, he's one of my best friends, so I'll get to go hang out with Chad a lot more than I do right now. All the crazy ramps that are out there, I think it can only be a good thing. It's the difference between all the transatlantic traveling I've been doing for years to actually being in the US all the time and able to just hop on a plane to whatever state to ride with whoever, whenever. The weather is going to be so much better than the English drizzle and rain and cold, and I'm definitely looking forward to my first winter in California.
Everybody's moving. Kagy moved to Woodward, Jimmy Walker moved to Florida, and now you got Simon Tabron living on the West Coast. What is going on in the world of BMX Vert? One guy left to go, Simon Tabron. He's the only one left who can take down Jamie Bestwick. And early on, Simon looked like he bottomed out on one of those setup airs, Steve.
Yeah, just a little bit of a bottom air, lost some speed, but gets right back into it with a huge alley-oop 540 no-handed.
So the podium's been determined. The question is, what order are they going to finish him? Simon, I knew with the slip up early in the run, he wasn't going to have enough to take away Jamie Bestwick's score. But it looks like Chad Kagy's silver medal is going to be secure with Simon popping out of the ramp early on. I don't know what was going on there. What do you think? Maybe sizing up back-to-back 900s with how he was trying to pump those huge setup airs?
I think he knew after he bottomed that one wall that he just wasn't going to be able to get back and do everything he wanted to in his run to really threaten Chad or Jamie. So why not call it? He rides home safe.
Yeah, safety first. You see his body language. He got on the deck and looked across, I believe, at Chad Kagy like, what happened?
That is so huge. Simon has the alley-oop 5s wired, takes his hand off for some extra difficulty. Turn down 540, clicks it all the way. Perfect style from Simon.
So Simon throwing that one out. He is going to walk away with a bronze medal. Chad Kagy is safe with his first run score of 90.25. That's going to give him the silver, and that means yet again on the LG Action Sports World Championships of BMX Vert that we are going to see a glory run out of Jamie Bestwick. It's almost getting played out using that term when it comes to this guy, but hey, when you're this good, it happens time and time again. I said it earlier, the most dominant vert rider in BMX these days. And here we go, he's just gonna lay it all on the line for the fans here inside Key Arena.
Well, he's used to doing these, Jimmy, but he does not lay up at all. Check out the height, higher than in his first run.
Giant alley-oop downside tail whip, and again, the downside whips just absolutely blow me away. You don't ever see anyone do that trick that high.
It was an alley-oop regular tail whip to downside whip to X-up flare. I mean, big bangers back to back. It's just insane to watch this guy ride. Opposite turn down flare, it's crazy.
I mean, you watch the things this guy does in his run, and it's impressive enough, but then you actually have to stop and think, wait a minute, how many of these tricks did he actually invent? How many of these tricks have we actually seen him unleash at major competitions over the last 6 or 7 years?
It's truly amazing, and we're hoping for the day Jamie's got some of those secret tricks in his bag we've never seen, so let's hope we see him in 2009.
So there you go, your 2008 LG Action Sports World Champion of BMX Vert. Taking a look at some highlights here from run number 2.
Massive opposite turn down flare. Nobody does that but Jamie.
And that one was fully clicked. He gets a 92.50. Even his second run score was still enough to beat the rest of the field. That officially wraps it up for the vert competition. Congratulations to Simon Tabron taking the bronze, Chad Kagy adding another silver medal, and how about Jamie Bestwick taking home his 5th gold medal in the 6-year history of this event.
Jamie, 2008 has been your season. It's been your year. How does this feel to end it like this?
It feels great, you know. These events have always been a lot of fun for the riders, and Seattle has been one of the greatest hosts we've had on this ASA World Tour. It's a lot of fun, you know. Just anybody who wants to get out there and do something different, bike riding is one way to go, because I have a lot of fun doing it, and it ain't over yet.
You heard it here. Thanks again, buddy. Congrats.
I mean, what else can you say about Jamie Bestwick, Steve? I mean, the guy is absolutely amazing, and we're going to have to see 2009 if anyone can take him down a peg or two.
Well, Kagy and Simon and McCann are all right there. What I really like is some of the other younger riders starting to make their way into the finals of Vert. Zach Warden, Austin Coleman, Coco, they're all making it up onto that list.
Yeah, and expect big things out of Kagy Craft in 2009 after he spends a couple of months up there at Camp Woodward. That kid's going to be firing it off in 2009. And big props go out to Steve McCann after the chain breaks and he goes down in run number 1. He comes back from last place all the way up to 4th. That officially wraps it up for BMX Vert here in Seattle. For more on qualified athletes and the other events, you can check out lgactionsports.com. I'm Jimmy Coleman. On behalf of myself, Steve Swope, and sideline reporter Catfish, we thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.